Well, well, what do we have here? It appears that archaeologists have made a discovery that backs up what hermeticists have been saying all along, unearthing a bowl from underwater ruins that describes Christ as a magician. Told you. And I will leave a link to that article in the description for those who are interested. Now, when most people hear the word magician, they're going to think of an illusionist, such as David Blaine or David Copperfield. But we know that that's not what they're talking about. In the same regard, when most people hear the word Christ, they think of one man. But to me, Christ is more of a title. Someone who possesses that Christ energy of the Sephiroth of Tipareth on the Tree of Life. Christ is not one person, it's a level of mastery. So now when you hear that Christ will return, well, it's much more possible now, isn't it? Why is the solar center of Tapareth associated with the heart center? Why is Jesus often depicted with the flaming sacred heart? Let me ask you this. What is it that keeps your body warm at a constant, comfortable 98.6 degrees? And you would say, well, the blood. Without the blood, you would be cold as ice and dead. Okay, well, what warms the blood? There has to be a constant heat source. Otherwise, the heat would dissipate over time. The heart is so much more than just a pump. And likewise, the mind is so much more than just the brain. Know thyself, says the oracle at Delphi. And so the Christ energy corresponds with solar energy, the heart center. Just as the sun distributes energy and heat to the rest of the solar system, so does your heart to the rest of your body. Now, if we take a look at the biblical Christ, Christianity and religion have done a really good job of getting you to focus on the man instead of the message. No, just believe in Jesus and you'll be saved. Oh, yeah, but that doesn't mean believe that he was a God. It means believe in the message that he was trying to teach you. And so people call upon him to save them from everything instead of learning how to save themselves. And what was the overarching message of the biblical Christ? What was forgiveness, was it not? Even when they were killing him, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Why is forgiveness so important? It's not for the others that you're forgiving. Even Christ asked God the Father to handle that part of it. No, your forgiveness is for you, so that you're not carrying around all that negative energy and having it ruin your life. I had someone ask me a while back, why does scarcity and abundance even matter? What's the big deal? Which is like asking, why should I lead a happy and fulfilling life when I could be miserable and dissatisfied all the time? Because that's what it really comes down to. Aside from the lesson on polarity, this is probably the most important lesson you'll learn on this channel. How does abundance and scarcity tie in with forgiveness? Well, first we need to understand what causes scarcity. And we went over in the Even Flow video that scarcity is caused by emotional blockages. Well, what causes emotional blockages? Well, it's usually some form of trauma. And it could be physical, mental, or emotional. But it is the result of being hurt in some way. And forgiveness is hard if you don't have the right perspective on it. People have this idea that forgiveness somehow makes you weak. Really? Then why is it so hard to do? It actually takes a lot of inner strength to be able to forgive. People have the wrong perspective of forgiveness, the wrong concept. It doesn't mean that you have to let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean that you can't defend yourself. It doesn't mean that you have to be all buddy-buddy and best friends with those who have done you wrong. In fact, it's probably best if you avoid them so that they're not a constant reminder, so that you can let it go. All it means is that you're not carrying around that trauma with you. Being traumatized is the fear of incurring more trauma. Perhaps you had a bad breakup in a relationship, and now you're afraid to get close to someone again. Perhaps someone really did you wrong, and you're afraid to trust people again.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Notice that it all leads to suffering. And if you're suffering as a result of carrying that inner garbage around with you, then you cannot be in abundance. Scarcity. And typically the younger you are, the deeper the trauma. Perhaps you were bullied or abused as a child. And people in their adulthood, 40s, 50s, will still get very angry as if they're reliving it if they think about their childhood and how they were bullied or abused. And so it's difficult to forgive others. But more importantly, it's difficult to forgive themselves. Because deep down they feel that something must be wrong with them, that it's somehow their fault. Why is this happening to me? Because there must be something wrong with me. And this isn't always at the conscious level. This can get into the subconscious. And then you'll see later in life that the abused become the abusers by way of subconscious programming. And so the real key here is self-forgiveness. Because an inability to forgive is an inability to let go of the trauma, to release all that pain and negative emotions. In the Even Flow video, when I showed that clip of Good Will Hunting, which I'm not going to show again because I don't want another copyright claim, but in it, you know the famous scene when Robin Williams tells Matt Damon that it's not his fault. And he continuously has to keep telling him that for it to get through. And then when he finally gets it, he breaks down. And that is the release of the past trauma of his abuse. That scene is so powerful because it is literally demonstrating the power of forgiveness, particularly self-forgiveness. Because if you can forgive yourself, you'll automatically forgive others. You won't be carrying around that past pain and trauma, and those emotional blockages will be unclogged. And you see Matt Damon's character Will afterwards, and he's a different person altogether. He's happy. He seems alive. He's not the cocky, arrogant smartass that he once was, which was just his way of masking and trying to push down the suffering and pain that he was going through. And you can see it. I mean, throughout the entire movie, you can see it. Just as you can see the trauma being released when Matt Damon's character Will breaks down. All of that pain. What Robin Williams was really saying is, why are you carrying this negative energy around with you? Why are you beating yourself up constantly for something that isn't your fault? Why are you doing this to yourself? The ones who abused you were bad enough, but what you're doing to yourself is even worse. Because you believe deep down that it's somehow your fault, when it's not. And usually the ones that do you wrong don't know any better either. Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. They're like children. They don't understand that the all is the all, that we're all connected. And that by harming others, they're really harming themselves. But forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you. And the people that did you wrong, are you really going to let them spoil your life? Someone who can't forgive is like a sick person who doesn't want to heal and get better. Not being able to forgive and carrying around all that negative energy can cause sickness and disease. Now, I'm not a doctor. That's not medical advice. That's spiritual advice. When you carry around past traumas, you're carrying around stress. You ought to go back and watch Good Will Hunting and see how he was before and after. After he forgave himself, he looked so much better, so much happier, so much more vibrant, so much more healthy. Health also corresponds to the solar separate of Tipareth, along with the Christ energy. The chalice, the symbol of abundance, the Holy Grail, associated with the element of water, emotions. You see that Will broke down emotionally, which is a means of clearing out emotional blockages and past traumas. It's why we grieve when we experience a tremendous personal loss or someone we love. It's a natural means of clearing out that trauma. That's what it's designed for. And it hurts. That's why people have difficulty with it. They're experiencing all the negativity that they've been holding inside as it's coming out, but then feel better after it's out. An emotional release is just that. It's a release so that the pressure doesn't build up and damage things. You know, a few videos ago when I said that black magicians are simply practitioners that are still in scarcity, I can take that a step further and say that there are no adept black magicians. And I don't say that in the sense that they can't do magic. I say that in the sense of the grade, because they should have learned all of this in the grade of practicus, the elemental grade of water. Somehow they seem to have skipped over these deeper mysteries, learning the secrets and the functions of the emotions and how to control them. Perhaps the lesson was too difficult. Forgiveness is one of the most difficult things to do. But then again, a lot of them use the kalaf, which is the inverse or polar opposite to the Kabbalistic tree of life. So there you go. Now, I've said it before, all the answers are within you. And in the case of past traumas, it's simply a matter of letting go. And people will say things such as, well, I can forgive, but I'll never forget. Well, then you haven't forgiven. To forgive is to forget. To forgive is to let go, to release. And if you're still thinking about it, that's evidence that you haven't let go. Just as when you're doing magic in the law of least expectance, if you're still thinking about it, then you haven't let go, which you need to do for the magic to manifest. Much of magic is to simply focus on a desire very intensely and then let it go, to where you don't focus or think about it at all. If you release something, it's no longer there for you to think about. The chalice, abundance, the Holy Grail, the key to joy and happiness, your cup runneth over. Where does the water that fills the cup come from? It comes from within you, but it can't do that if you have an emotional blockage of trauma. And if the cup can't fill, it can't runneth over, and then you end up in scarcity. Then people feel bad. They feel lost. They want to be saved. They go to church to seek forgiveness from God. And then they're told that Jesus will forgive them of their sins if they just accept him into their hearts. It's all symbolic. They accept the Christ who forgives them, and in doing so, they've allowed self-forgiveness. They've given themselves permission through Christ to let go and release all of that trauma. And then they feel incredible. They feel alive. It's almost as if they were born again. I had a friend tell me once that, he accepted Jesus and they broke down and they wept and it felt so good. Yeah. But he doesn't understand the deeper significance and mysteries and symbolism of what's really going on, and so he pins it all on Jesus. It was Jesus. And then they're told that once saved, always saved, but I hate to break it to you, Trauma and emotional blockages can still happen and build up. And that's when you become a judgmental, hypocritical person who no longer feels incredible and is in need of another emotional cleansing and self-forgiveness. It truly is a powerful thing, so much so that an entire religion was founded and based upon it. Many of those who have an aversion to Christianity only do so because they see the hypocrisy of those who follow it when they get built up with trauma and emotional blockages again. That it gets corrupted. That doesn't mean that you can't learn the deeper mysteries of what's really going on here and benefit from it. Just like Will in Good Will Hunting did. It's the same thing. So I hope this clears up any confusion on scarcity and abundance and how self-forgiveness is the key to make the switch. Think of all the people who have done you wrong. See how it makes you feel. Do some self-examination, some soul-searching. See if there's anything that you blame yourself for, that you're still carrying around. Let it go. It's not yours to carry around anymore. It's not your fault. And I'll see you soon. If you enjoyed this video, here's another Mystery School lesson you may have missed. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe for more weekly content to help expand your knowledge. Thanks for all the love and support, and I'll see you next time. Take care.